The reason your life hasn't changed is because you're still waiting for permission to become the person you were born to be. But here's the truth. No one's coming to crown you. You either step into that power now or you stay forgotten. God mode doesn't activate when things are easy. It switches on the second you decide nothing will stop you. Prayer isn't some fragile cry for help thrown into the sky hoping someone hears you. It's not weakness. It's not for the defeated. The real ones don't pray to be saved. They pray to activate something lethal inside. It's a power move, a declaration, a warrior's command to the universe that they're ready to take what's theirs. Weak men beg for mercy. Strong men demand alignment. They don't kneel in fear. They lock in with intent. That's the difference. Most people have turned prayer into a therapy session for the broken. But real prayer, real power, is when you speak to something greater, not to rescue you, but to sharpen your blade. You're not asking to escape the storm. Every move you make begins in the mind. So what is prayer really? It's the sharpening of that mental blade before you step into the fight. You're reminding yourself who the hell you are. You're not waiting on handouts from the heavens. You're declaring to everything and everyone, seen and unseen, that your rise is non-negotiable. It's not about lighting candles and whispering wishes. It's about locking eyes with your fears and saying, I'm still coming. You speak into the dark because you're not afraid of it. You're built to move through it. Prayer becomes a mental reset, a discipline, a silent vow between you and your future self. It's how kings recalibrate before war. People think prayer is about hope. That's where they lose. Real prayer is about certainty, about commitment, about commanding reality to bend. You don't beg for strength, you speak it into your bloodstream. You don't ask to be saved, you ask to be unleashed. Because if you knew what you were capable of, you'd stop pleading and start declaring. The ones who win in this life, they're not hoping their prayers get answered. They already believe it's done. That belief becomes their compass. It hardens their mindset. It fuels every step they take. Because when you stop treating prayer like a last resort and start treating it like a launch code, you activate a version of you no one's ready for. When you stand alone, when the lights are off and your back's against the wall, that's when it becomes real. You speak not just to ask, but to command. You align your mind, body, and intention to a frequency above doubt, above weakness, above fear. That's what God mode looks like. It's not about religion, it's about power. It's the mindset of someone who doesn't wait for signs, they become the sign. Someone who doesn't follow the path, they create it. That kind of internal fire isn't found in noise, it's found in the quiet moments when you tell the world, watch me. You don't have to believe in anything outside of yourself. But you better believe in the power of your words, in the force of your intention, in the strength of your will when it's locked in on something real. The reason most people get nowhere in life is because they speak like victims. They pray like they're weak. They talk about their goals like they're daydreams instead of declarations. If you speak uncertainty, you live uncertainty. If your words are soft, your results are softer. The world responds to certainty, not confusion. You can't manifest domination by whispering hesitation into the air. You want to activate a higher level, a God mode? Then you better start talking like you already own the outcome. That's the protocol, that's the mindset. Speak it like it's fact, not fantasy. When you speak with power, something shifts, not just in the world, but inside you. You walk differently, you think sharper, your energy hits harder, because now your brain has no room to negotiate with doubt. You've already spoken truth into existence and your body has no choice but to follow. The ones who win don't beg for their dream. They speak it into reality and work until the world has no choice but to surrender it to them. They say, I will, and then go out and prove it. There's no room for maybe. Maybe is the language of failure. I hope is the anthem of the weak. I might is the sound of a man already beaten. But I will is a promise to your future self. It's a mental contract sealed with action. Too many people pray like they're asking for permission to rise. But a real prayer, a warrior's prayer, doesn't ask, it claims. You're not sitting there saying, please let me win. You say, I was built to win, and I'm coming for everything I deserve. You speak with a tone that shakes rooms, that turns heads, that lets the universe know you're not joking. Because words are power, they're energy. And if your energy is weak, your results will never be strong. The moment you upgrade your language, you upgrade your reality. It's that simple. But here's the truth. They'll call it arrogance. They'll call it delusion. That's fine, let them. That's the tax you pay for operating at a higher frequency. When you talk like a champion before the belt is around your waist, the average will try to pull you down. But winners don't speak for approval. They speak to align themselves with power. You don't talk like you already have it because you're pretending. You do it because you're planting seeds in the ground with your words. And if you're willing to water those words with blood and work, they grow into your reality. This isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about realizing who you already are and refusing to stay quiet about it. The world wants you to stay humble, to stay quiet, to stay small, but your voice is a weapon. Use it. Speak what you're going to do. Speak it in silence when no one's watching. Speak it in the mirror when no one believes in you. Speak it in your mind every morning like it's already done, because the most dangerous man isn't the one who waits for permission. He's the one who speaks with conviction and never looks back. Control your emotions or be controlled by them. That's the law. In this world, power doesn't belong to the loudest man in the room. It belongs to the one who can sit still while the storm rages around him and not blink. Most people lose because they react to everything. Someone disrespects them, they explode. Something doesn't go their way, they break down. That's weakness. That's emotional slavery. The ones who truly run the game are the ones who master their inner world. When everyone else is panicking, they're calculating. When others are triggered, they're 10 steps ahead. Because when your emotions run wild, your logic dies. And if your logic is dead, you're already defeated. Training emotional control isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming unshakable. You feel the rage, but you don't let it dictate your move. You feel the fear, but it doesn't paralyze you. You feel the pressure, but you operate like a machine, because feelings are just noise, and noise can't decide your destiny. Men who dominate life are cold under fire. They don't react, they respond. And that response is precise, calculated, and deadly. It's not that they don't feel, it's that they refuse to be prisoners to feelings. That's the difference between average and elite. Weak men let their mood dictate their work. If they don't feel motivated, they don't act. If they're upset, they lash out. If life hits them hard, they stay down. But killers don't wait to feel ready. They act regardless. They show up whether they're happy, angry, drained, or broken, because they've learned that discipline beats emotion. Every time. The guy chasing success without emotional control is like a soldier charging into war without armor. He might last a little while, but he's going down sooner or later. Emotion makes you predictable. And if you're predictable, you're beatable. You can't unlock the next level until you learn to master the level of your emotions. And that starts in silence. Not reacting to every insult, not needing to prove your worth to anyone. Let them think you're soft while you build silently. Let them talk while you sharpen the blade. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Your results will speak for you louder than any emotional outburst ever could. Control is built through restraint, through choosing not to respond even when everything in you is screaming to retaliate. That's real power. That's the kind of power that makes people fear you without you saying a word. You want God mode? Then you need godlike control, not just over your schedule or your money, but over your mind, over your feelings, over your reactions. When you become the kind of person who doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, and doesn't get thrown off by drama or disrespect, you become untouchable. They can't beat a man who doesn't react. They can't break a man who doesn't bend. Emotion might feel good in the moment, but mastery feels better forever. Choose mastery. Choose silence. Choose to move like a ghost. Calm, focused, lethal. Let the rest of the world burn in their feelings while you rise through discipline. That's the code. Everybody wants results. Everyone wants the body, the money, the respect, the status. But when it comes to putting in the work that no one sees, the boring, painful, repetitive work, they vanish. This is why most people never make it, because consistency is brutal. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, it's not exciting, it's boring. It's a war of repetition. And only the ones who show up daily, especially when they don't feel like it, are the ones who rise. The world doesn't reward desire, it rewards discipline. And discipline is built in silence. You're not gonna feel motivated every day. That's reality. You're gonna feel tired, you're gonna feel discouraged. You're gonna feel like it's not working. That's the test. Success is given to the man who keeps showing up regardless. He doesn't negotiate with his emotions. He doesn't ask himself if he's in the mood. He executes like a machine, like a warrior, because he understands that every action, no matter how small, compounds. One day becomes a week becomes a month becomes a year, and before you know it, you've built something that no one can take from you. But it started on those days when you wanted to quit, but didn't. People love to chase motivation. They watch a video, get hyped, write a plan, and 2 days later they're back to being soft because they're relying on emotion, not on structure. The real killers don't need to feel good to work. They've locked in a system, a code. Wake up, train, grind, build, repeat. It's not complicated, it's just hard, but that's why it works. Because most people can't handle hard. Most people can't be consistent without applause. They want validation every step of the way. But when you understand that the only reward you need is the result, you become unstoppable. Repetition is what turns actions into identity. The first time you wake up early, it's a task. The 100th time, it's who you are. That's the shift. You're no longer trying, you've become. And that transformation only happens through relentless, unshakable consistency. You can't fake that, you can't cheat it. You either show up or you don't. And if you don't, someone else will. The guy willing to grind longer, harder, and more consistently than you will take everything you thought you deserved. Life doesn't care about your excuses, it rewards execution. It's not about going hard for a day, it's about going steady for years, brick by brick, hour by hour. And most of that building will happen with no audience, no applause, no recognition. That's the part people don't talk about. The grind behind closed doors, the self-discipline in silence. But that's where power is built. That's where men separate themselves. That's where your future is forged, not in one big moment, but in thousands of small ones. When you choose to keep going, when you push through boredom, when you do what you said you'd do, that's how you win. That's how you build a life that commands respect without having to beg for it. Everyone wants to talk about goals, vision boards, and manifestation, but nobody talks about alignment. Alignment is the missing piece. You can talk all day about who you want to become, but if your habits don't match that identity, it's all noise. You want to be powerful? Move like someone who's powerful. You want to be rich? Make decisions like someone who values every second and every dollar. You want respect? Walk, talk, and act like a man who respects himself first. Your life will never rise above your daily standards. If those standards are weak, so are you. And that's why most people stay stuck. They're living out of sync with what they say they want. You can't lie to yourself forever. At some point, the mirror tells the truth. You want to be mentally strong, but you keep folding under pressure. You want to be financially successful, but you're still spending like a clown. You want to be disciplined, but you keep hitting snooze and skipping workouts. That's not misfortune, that's misalignment. Your actions are revealing your real priorities, and they aren't what you're pretending they are. The life you get is the result of what you tolerate. If you keep allowing yourself to move like a soft, unfocused version of who you could be, you'll stay exactly where you are, lost, bitter, and average. Alignment is ruthless. It forces you to confront your own contradictions. It exposes all the areas where you've been lying to yourself. And once you see that, you only have two options: change or continue living in denial. Most choose denial because change is painful. Growth is uncomfortable. It demands sacrifice. You have to say no to distractions, no to comfort, no to instant gratification. But when you do, something shifts. You start building momentum. You start feeling real power, not the fake kind that comes from pretending online, the kind that builds in silence, brick by brick. You become grounded, focused, dangerous. Because you're no longer driven by hype, you're driven by alignment. When your words, thoughts, and actions all point in the same direction, you become unstoppable. You don't need motivation anymore because you become purpose-driven. You're not waking up to see how you feel, you're waking up to dominate, because domination is the byproduct of alignment. You don't need outside approval. You approve of yourself because you're living in integrity. And that integrity creates unshakable confidence. You know who you are, you know what you stand for, and you move with clarity because there's no internal conflict, no wasted energy. Every move you make is precise, calculated, and intentional. That's when people start noticing. That's when results start compounding. But it starts with brutal self-honesty. You have to call yourself out. You have to identify the ways you're moving that contradict who you say you want to be. And then you fix it fast. No more justifying weakness. No more blaming the past. No more waiting for the perfect moment. You fix the gaps, raise the standard, and force yourself to level up. Because the longer you stay misaligned, the longer you delay the life that could be yours. The life that demands you act like the person you're scared to become. The life that's waiting on the other side of your excuses. The final piece most people never understand is the power of unshakable belief. Especially belief in the unseen. You want to activate something beyond human. You want that God mode. Then you need to train yourself to believe in outcomes before there's proof. Not the weak kind of belief that's loud when everything's going right, but the kind of belief that roars in silence, in solitude, when no one claps, when no one cares. That's the belief that separates the real from the fake, because that level of certainty changes your frequency. You stop asking if it's going to happen and you start moving like it already has. And the world has no choice but to respond. Most people live in doubt, hesitation, fear. They're praying for miracles but expecting failure. They move like losers while hoping for a winner's life. That contradiction is why they stay stuck. You can't manifest power from a place of weakness. If your belief is built on external validation, you're fragile. One setback, one rejection, and you're done. But when your belief comes from something internal, something divine, there's nothing that can shake it. You could lose everything and still walk like you own the world. That's the energy that bends reality. That's the mindset that turns men into legends. There comes a point where you stop negotiating with doubt. You stop debating your value. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never get it. You decide, you declare, you align. And once that decision is made, you never retreat. You keep moving, even if it's slow, even if it's dark, even if nobody claps. You keep showing up like it's already done. You build in silence. You grind without applause. You bleed with purpose. That's what belief looks like in real life, not hype, not noise, but a quiet, lethal, relentless force that refuses to fold. You think the greats waited for confidence? You think they needed everyone to believe first? No, they were the belief. They moved like kings before the crown. They walked in rooms like they already owned the throne, and that energy pulled everything into place. Opportunities, wealth, influence, all of it came to them, not because they begged, but because they became impossible to ignore. That's not arrogance. That's spiritual conviction. That's inner dominance. And if you want to rise, you have to master that. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you believe you already own. The man who truly believes moves differently. He speaks differently. He doesn't wait. He doesn't chase. He attracts because he's tapped into something divine. He's tuned in to the fact that he was born for more. He doesn't need proof to move. His movement becomes the proof. His mindset builds the future. His faith turns the invisible into the inevitable. That's God mode. That's the final switch most never flip, because it requires you to bet on yourself with zero guarantees. But once you do, once you fully lock in and act like it's already yours, the world bends around your will. Reality doesn't resist the man who moves with conviction. It rearranges to make room for him. The game was never about talent alone, luck, or even timing. It was about belief so strong it breaks the rules of reality. You don't wait to become the person. You decide you are him and move accordingly. That's God mode. That's divine alignment. That's the protocol. You align your mind, your actions, your energy, your silence, and your discipline with the vision, and you stop asking for permission. Because the moment you walk like it's already yours, the universe doesn't argue, it obeys. The world bows to those who carry themselves like kings before the crown. So lock in, stay ruthless with your focus, unshakable in your faith, and untouchable in your conviction. You're not here to try. You're here to take what's already written, move like it, think like it, live like it, and everything else will follow.